I want to give you an overview of what I thought about the play A Midsummer's Night's Dream, written by Shakespeare. I liked it because it was fiction, and personally, I like reading fiction. Um, I liked it because it was also funny, and it also had a love story in it, but it wasn't like like a typical love story, like Romeo and Juliet and all that other stuff. You had love triangles, and you never knew who was gonna fall in love with who. What I didn't like was that at times it was hard to keep the characters straight, and it made you really confusing at times. So you had to like go back through and reread parts of it like 2 or 3 times in order to figure out what was going on.
Alright, so I read the play A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare. I don't really know what to tell you about it, what I thought. Like, it was funny in an old Shakespeare way, but it was also dumb because it's not easy to understand. You really have to focus to know what you're doing. Like, the beginning, I had to okay, for every scene that I read, I had to look up a summary of it because I was like, this doesn't even make sense. And then read the summary and I was like, oh, okay, this makes a little more sense now. It starts out with 4 people, 2 men who love 1 woman and 1 woman who loves one of the men, so it's a big cluster. And then the 2 that love each other are gonna go run off into the woods, and then weird things happen after that. I don't know, it just doesn't even make sense. I don't know, if it were up to me, I would not read it again, but maybe all of Shakespeare's plays don't make sense. Okay, the only play I've read other than Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and that made sense, because everyone knows Romeo and Juliet. Not everyone knows A Midsummer Night's Dream, so it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know. Like, God, I don't even know. And, okay, actually, towards the end, it starts making sense again. Like, you're like, okay, this kind of works. Yes, it's funny now. So, throughout the whole beginning, this is what I want to say. Throughout the beginning, the first 3 to 4 acts, I was like, this is dumb. Why am I reading this? It doesn't even make sense. I don't want to be reading it. And then I got past that, and I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense now. It's kind of funny. I get the drug use. I get everything. Then everyone gets married, and it's happy, and blah, blah, blah. So, like, from the 1st to the 4th, it's like, this is stupid, doesn't make sense. And then after the 5th, you'll be like, oh, that's cool, I like this play, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, if it were up to me, I probably wouldn't read it again. Maybe I'd only read the last part.
Time to review Shakespeare. Let's do this. Oh, this is fun. Oh, Jesus. Well, here we are. Today's topic is A Midsummer Night's Dream by the lovely William Shakespeare. Yes, I know, that word, Shakespeare. Oh, so frightening, because all you think about when you hear Shakespeare is boring. So boring, so long, so tragic, such horrible, horrible deaths, and I do not want to read these 800 pages for the next 3 days. But I'm actually really impressed with this. This is probably my first Shakespeare play, and my first impression is good. Very good. So, I'm sure all of you have heard from upperclassmen, don't read Shakespeare because Shakespeare is just so boring and he's like the worst author like ever and he like sucks and like, yeah, okay, bye. But that's not true. Shakespeare is actually one of the most impressive, emotional, really gets to ya kind of author. And that's the type of books I kind of like. But here, let's start out with the plot overview. It's a crazy, crazy love story, and for all of you people out there that for some reason have this, like, 50 Shades of Grey love, need this play, or need to read a book that has some kind of a interesting backstory, well, I would recommend Othello, but we're going to talk about this one right now first. Their love story here was confusing, yet extremely, extremely, what's the word? Anyways, the book itself is not exactly, it's not that long, but I mean, you can't read it in an hour unless you're Brendan Van Dorf. William really, Shakespeare. This is probably one of my favorite, I wouldn't call it a poem, but I don't really think it's a poem. I think it's actually a book, but, I enjoyed reading this. I liked the story behind it. If I had a quote or if I had to say a favorite character, I'd definitely have to say Hippolyta. Hopefully I'm correct, or I'm pronouncing that right. She seemed like the Mother Nature of the whole entire group of people, and there was endless amount of characters. There was, it seemed like every line or every 30 or 50 lines that you read, a new character was introduced, and it was a new part in the story, and it was a new circle, and the huge love circle that they kept talking about. But oh, poor Hermia. Poor Hermia is this poor girl that just can't seem to catch a break, and she is what she thinks to be in love with two guys because her dad, Theseus, doesn't want her to marry the guy she actually wants to. Classic high school love story. But she insists on marrying him, Lysander. And Demetrius is the one that loves Hermia, but Hermia does not love Demetrius. So throughout the book, they struggle through that, and Lysander and Hermia continue to try and run off, like the classical Romeo and Juliet move. But, spoiler alert, they don't kill themselves at the end. That's interesting. Instead, a bunch of, well, how I would describe it as drugs, but a bunch of love potions and sleeping potions and all of this fun little magic voodoo stuff starts going on in order to try and get the love circle to be somewhat connected and together. But that doesn't quite work out in the end, because actually in the end it seems what I got from it was, it seemed as if it was all a dream to, oh god, I can't remember his name now. What's that guy's name? Oh, Puck. Puck, it seemed like it was almost a dream as to Puck at the end, or it seemed like the whole story that you read, talking about me reading the story, seemed like it was all just Puck's big, a big dream in his mind. All of the fairies and all of the tales and all of the potions and everything were completely made up. That's just what I got for it. I could be completely wrong, because who the heck knows what goes on in this head. But all in all, great story, great poem. I highly recommend it. It's other than Romeo and Juliet, this is really my first Shakespeare play that I read, really actually read and paid attention and made an attempt to understand it. And I'm definitely happy that I did. And I highly recommend it to any of you guys watching this. And if you want, I'll put a link right here for a full version of the book, a online free version that I used to read this lovely play. I'll put it in this area right here, and you can go ahead and click on that and hopefully read it for yourself. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Okay, it didn't stop. Do these glasses make me look like I know what I'm talking about?